Welcome to New York's #2 sports show. The New York Yankees are in the World Series for the first time since 2009. So a 15-year drought snapped as far as reaching the World Series goes. And this Yankees-Guardians series, while it only went 5 games, unbelievable. Another epic game. Juan Soto has a moment. 10th inning, game-winning 3-run homer off of Hunter Gaddis. Just an unbelievable at-bat. 7-pitch at-bat. I mean, Juan Soto is as confident a hitter as I've ever watched. It's unreal. And there's no one else that you would want in that situation more than him. There isn't. Like, I haven't seen it. And Soto, just with one of the home runs and one of the classic home runs of all time. And not to be outdone, Giancarlo Stanton does it again. Stanton homers off of Tanner Bybee in the 6th inning, in what was, another mistake made by Stephen Vogt and company by letting that happen. You can't let Giancarlo Stanton beat you there. Giancarlo Stanton wins the ALCS MVP. Much deserved. 4 homers in the series, and his postseason legendary status only grows. So really happy for Giancarlo. I couldn't just such a likable guy, honestly. Just very, for a superstar, just a very humble guy, says all the right things, and just super happy that he's having this moment. And, again, these 3 games in Cleveland in particular were unbelievable. I mean, I think even if you're not a fan of the Yankees or the Guardians, very entertaining, high intensity games that could have went either way. Really, this series, when I think about it, it should still be going on. The Guardians are a really good team. And look, the Yankees were a little bit better at the end of the day. That is for sure. Cleveland made just a couple few mistakes that cost them. And the Yankees really got to their bullpen when they needed to. And then the Guardians also made some uncharacteristically poor defensive miscues. And that was huge. That really, in the 10th inning, Brian Rocchio is unable to catch what could have been a double play, maybe not, but at least 1 out on a play from Andre Simenez to Rocchio. He drops the ball, and everyone's safe. And that enables Juan Soto to get up there against Hunter Gaddis, and it was, to dead center field. Just unbelievable. For a Yankee fan, it's one of those unforgettable games and moments. That Soto home run will go down in infamy, for sure. Now, there's a lot of different, rare statistics out there. How this is the, one of, I think, 3 home runs, pennant clinching home runs in the 9th inning or later. Chris Chambliss against the Royals in 76. Aaron Boone, of course, the famous Aaron Boone homer against the Red Sox in 03 in extra innings. And then this one. This one falls a little bit behind that for the reason that those were winner-take-all games. Win or go home. This one, even if they lost, you still did have 6 and 7. So, there is that backdrop to it. But again, Juan Soto is just so detail-oriented, such a competitor, and he's not going to be denied. In the big situation, he won't be. And if I'm Cleveland, I would so much rather go after Judge. Just what it is. And as a Yankee fan, I'm thinking, okay, I didn't want Soto walking. In fact, there was a 1-0 pitch that was kind of close that was called a strike. I preferred it to be called a strike. I did not want it to be in Judge's hands. And this episode, look, this is obviously going to be a very joyous episode. Look, Aaron Judge obviously had a big-time moment in Game 3. They did lose the game. That's not his fault. But Judge is batting 161 in the postseason. That storyline grows more interesting by each game. Because it is Stanton and Soto specifically. Of course, there's others as well. Gleyber Torres comes to mind. In terms of other contributions, Aaron Judge, what will he do in the World Series? Very curious, because I don't think that if he continues doing what he's doing, I'm hard pressed to believe that you can somehow win a World Series with Judge doing as poorly as he's been. I hope I'm wrong. That'd be great. But I think he's going to have to play a pretty pivotal role in getting the Yankees over the top. But this is the Yankees' 41st American League pennant, which is like way more than the next. I think the Dodgers are maybe have 21 pennants won. So again, just kind of crazy. But yeah, I mean, first time in 15 years, which, look, for a Yankee fan that's seen a lot of success, quite some time. I mean, if you had told me in 2009 that the Yankees would not see the World Series again until 2024, I wouldn't have believed you. I just wouldn't have. No way. But that's what it is. And, a sigh of relief for, Brian Cashman, Aaron Boone, because any thought that, in the case of Boone, like, he's back. I mean, there's just no doubt about that now with them having reached the World Series. So, plenty of different places to go. Honestly, don't even know where to begin. I mean, like, this was awesome. Like, really, like, being a fan of this team for so long and to see them reach the World Series is just incredible. And look, the work isn't done. In fact, it only gets tougher from here. 4 more wins to go is the key. So, Yankees Guardians Game 5, and you knew Cleveland was not going down without a fight, and that was true. They did not. I guess from a Guardians perspective, just I guess to do a quick little bit on them. Jose Ramirez did not come through. You look at things, and Ramirez in the postseason, 200 batting average with a below 800 OPS. Like, you need more from Jose, and I would imagine that Guardians fans are upset by that performance. Stephen Kwan was a lot more dangerous in the first series, but Kwan had a really good postseason overall. In this specific game, the Naylor brothers were they were the toughest outs by far. Bo Naylor especially, like, he was just very pesky and really, really did what he could. And Josh Naylor as well. And Josh Naylor didn't have a great postseason, but in this game, he was really, really tough. Tanner Bybee pitched so well for Cleveland, but he made one gigantic, unacceptable mistake to Giancarlo Stanton in the 6th inning. Like, that just cannot happen. Especially after what happened the night before against Cade Smith. Like, you had to avoid it. You had to pitch your way around Giancarlo Stanton with Jazz Chisholm on deck. And that was the one lineup change the Yankees had made. It was Stanton to 4, Chisholm Jr. to 5. Now, as far as Stanton goes, I think we're going to see him in that 4 spot pretty much moving forward here. The only way he wouldn't is if one of those lefties completely emerges, a.k.a. Jazz Chisholm, Anthony Rizzo, Austin Wells. But, yeah, I think Game 1 against the Dodgers, even though it's all right-handed starters, I shouldn't say that. That was wrong. Because as I'm recording this, the Mets could still win this series. It's 3-2 Dodgers heading to Game 6 in LA. Regardless of who the Yankees are facing, I think Stanton's going to be batting 4th. And yeah, that was the one switch up. Carlos Rodon, an okay outing. 4 2/3 innings, 5 hits, 2 earned runs, 1 walk, and 6 strikeouts for Rodon. So doesn't give you as much length as I was hoping for, but only 2 runs. And that's been kind of the key for the starters. They're not giving you a whole lot of length, but they're not letting the game get out of hand for all of them. Cole, Rodon, Schmidt, Heel. It is, they're basically at worst giving up like 2-3 runs in their outings, and that's going to keep you in a ball game. And the bullpen did a great job tonight. A combination of Mark Leiter Jr., Tim Hill, Jake Cousins, and Luke Weaver. We'll get more into them as it kind of, actually, I'll go through each of them individually. I'll do that. Mark Leiter Jr. comes in a massive, massive situation to clean up a little bit of a mess that Rodon made. Bases loaded. This game could have gotten out of hand. Lane Thomas, after Jose Ramirez was intentionally walked, Lane Thomas grounds out in a bases loaded situation. That could have totally changed the game. Tim Hill, is there more of an unsung hero for this whole series than Tim Hill? He pitched every game. He pitched 5 games in 6 nights. He got 4 outs here. Again, like Hill, what a big-time performer he has been. And has been just a great lefty out of the bullpen. Jake Cousins looked nasty. Jake Cousins, that's very encouraging going into the World Series. 4 out, All 4 outs he got were 4 strikeouts and looked good doing it. So Cousins like that. And then Luke Weaver bouncing back from a tough outing a couple nights before. Weaver picks up the win, goes 2 innings, and in some ways, like, he came in a tie game, preserved it, and then Soto hits the 3-run homer, and Weaver, in essence, gets it. Doesn't go down as a save, but essentially that's what he does. So that was great too, because again, like, that's a good response from Luke Weaver. So, in this game, we knew Clay Holmes was unavailable, and as I expected, they wanted to stay away from Tommy Kahnle, but Kahnle was warming up in the 10th if things got out of hand for Weaver. Anyway, let's start from the top. And Gleyber Torres, yet again, this is now, he has reached 8 out of 9 games in the first inning, leading off. That's what a leadoff hitter does. Now, there will be a little bit of Gleyber slander coming up here, unfortunately, just a little bit. Gleyber leadoff single, then Juan Soto. That's the thing, too. Juan Soto, he's also been fantastic in the first inning. He hits a double between right center field. And Joneski Noel gets it, throws it into Andres Jimenez, who throws it to Bo Naylor, and they get Gleyber out at home. Now, some blame can go to Luis Rojas, in terms of the situation. With Judge, who I know has not been the best, but Stanton coming up as well, with it being what it was, second and third, it would have been second and third, no out. But Gleyber is just so damn slow, like ridiculously slow. And also, he's like looking on his way from third to home. He's like looking at the play. Like, Gleyber, you got to just put your head down. So I don't really want to blame Rojas too much. I do get it if you think, hey, full on stop, sure. But that's the one that probably should have scored. And the Yankees don't end up scoring. They had Bobby on the ropes, and then he totally settled down. So Judge is hit by a pitch. Then Stanton strikes out. And I will say this, Stanton, these strikeouts are becoming more prevalent, but we're going to completely disregard that because Stanton hits another amazing mammoth home run in the 6th inning. Jazz Chisholm, he gets hit by a pitch as well. So a little bit of a command issue for Bobby. And then Rizzo lines out to Kwan. Can't blame Rizzo. He hit that ball hard with the bases loaded, but Cleveland is able to get out of there unscathed. Then the bottom of the 2nd, the Guardians get a run on the board to give themselves a 1-0 lead. With 1 out, Josh Naylor gets an infield single. Just nothing you can do about it. And then with 2 out, a great at-bat by Bo Naylor. Unbelievably great at-bat. And he wins the battle on the 9th or 10th pitch. The 10th pitch of the at-bat, Bo Naylor, RBI double into the right field corner, scores his brother Josh to give the Guardians a 1-0 lead. Let's then go to the Let's go to the bottom of the 5th. And you know what? We may track back on certain players depending on who gets brought up here. But Cleveland takes a 2-0 lead. And it would be Andres Jimenez with a 1-out double. It was interesting. Rodon was having more struggles against the lefties, it seemed, than the righties. Then with 2 out, Timmy, you got to pitch carefully to Kwan. What we saw in this series and what I've been preaching for just a lot of situations is the benefit of intentionally walking someone or at least being careful. Now, I understand that can be tricky, right? If you're not going to intentionally walk someone, like, that's a tightrope. But at the same time, Kwan gets an RBI single. And that's tough because Rodon looked really good against David Fry, who was on deck. So Cleveland takes a 2-0 lead. Another 2-out RBI hit for the Guardians. And then David Fry is able to actually kind of a broken bat dunker off of the glove of Judge. Judge dives, unable to come up with it. And it's a single for Fry. He ends up going to second. It's 2nd and 3rd, 2 out. And that's when they bring in Mark Leiter Jr. for Rodon. So Rodon, kind of a so-so outing, depending on how you look at it. But then they intentionally walk Ramirez after 1 pitch. There was a ball, intentional walk. That's the right thing to do. You don't want to let Jose Ramirez beat you. You'd rather go after Lane Thomas. And Leiter Jr., as I said previously, really big ground out to Gleyber to keep the score at 2-0. And then the 6th inning is when the Yankees tie it up. And it's Gleyber Torres getting it going with a single. And then Soto singles. Again, that combination's been really, really good. And then Aaron Judge double play. Not to say it wasn't hit somewhat hard, but it was tailor-made. So Aaron Judge goes 0 for 4, 2 strikeouts, get a 161 batting average and a 704 OPS for the MVP of the league. Like, I need a lot more in the World Series. I do. Way, way, way more. And then comes the Giancarlo Stanton at bat. And Tanner Bybee, like I said, his line on the night was 5 2/3 innings, 6 hits, 2 runs, no walks, 5 strikeouts. He was looking really good after a poor first inning. And what ends up hurting him in a way, I guess, is that he got ahead of the count on Giancarlo. In fact, and Stanton was looking bad against Bybee too, I'll say that. And it was 0-2, and then Stanton took 3 balls. So it ends up being a full count. And Bybee just hangs a slider right over the plate, and Stanton absolutely demolishes it. 446 feet with an exit velocity of 117.5. Like, freakish stuff from Giancarlo Stanton, who owns the Guardians. Like, that's the thing. It's been years now that this has been happening. Like 2022, he had a couple of homers. 2020, I think he might have had a couple of homers in that one as well. At least one. If not, I think 2. So, you think that you cannot let that happen. I'm sorry. Like, whatever the route you want to take, that was one that was unacceptable to have. And the Yankees reap the benefits of it. It's 2-2. So then Cade Smith comes in. He strikes out Jazz Chisholm Jr. to end the inning. You get a leadoff walk by Josh Naylor in the 6th off of Leiter Jr., but then a big pop out of John Kenzie Noel, because it looked like Leiter Jr. was going to have a couple of walks there, but it didn't happen. And so then Tim Hill comes on. And Bo Naylor singles off of Tim Hill. So looking like there could be some issues. First and second one out, but Hill induces the double play. A 4-3 double play. Jimenez grounds it to Glaber. He steps on second, gets the out at first, and we go to the 7th inning. And Anthony Rizzo singles off of Cade Smith. And now Oswaldo Cabrera pinch runs for Rizzo. Hey, you know what? As much as I've been tough on Rizzo defensively, credit where it's due. Really, really impressed me on the offensive side. And really, I think he should be batting ahead of Jazz Chisholm. He should be batting 5th. He deserves it. So Rizzo, good job in terms of just he's hurt. It's been a tough year, but hanging in there, really, against some tough relievers. So Anthony Volpe flies out, and then they bring on the lefty Tim Herrin, and the Austin Wells struggles continue. Although he does get a very big walk in the 10th. I'll give him that. But Austin Wells, it's a double play. And it wouldn't be the last double play that we would see from Austin Wells. That was the first. Right? That was the first. No, I guess that was the second one. That was the second double play by Austin Wells. So, and that was big to me because what ends up happening, let's see. Yeah, what ends up happening there, if Wells doesn't double play and just makes out and then Verdugo gets out, I think then, at the time I'm thinking, okay, Tim Herrin's then out of the game and you have to bring in Gaddis there, which would have eventually thinned out the bullpen by the time I got to the extra innings. Now, as we know how it worked out, Yankees got to Gaddis anyway, so it kind of worked out, but that was a pretty big double play that Herrin got on Wells. Then let's go to the 7th inning. Leadoff walk by Rocchio against Tim Hill, and this is where Alan Porter, the home plate ump, completely squeezed Tim Hill. I mean, Rocchio was basically struck out twice. Now, hey, this goes both ways. The Yankees caught a major break in Game 4 where Canely should have walked Lane Thomas and they called him out. So, hey, this goes both ways, but really, that was not great. That wasn't. But then Stephen Kwan grounds into an unassisted double play to Oswaldo Cabrera. Cabrera is such a good, fundamentally sound baseball player. This is why I'm such a fan of him. Although I will talk about something that actually probably wasn't that fundamental soon at the plate, but this was a really savvy, smart play by Oswaldo to get the grounder, step on first, and then he's able to just be patient with Rocchio, and he tags him out. Because if he decides to quickly throw to second after stepping on first, Rocchio could have easily retrieved back to first. He played that perfectly. Now to our next hero. Hill is out, Jake Cousins is in, and Cousins was looking fantastic. He strikes at the pinch hitter Manzardo to end the 7th. A good 8th inning for Herrin against the Yanks. They go down 1-2-3. Bottom of the 8th, Cousins strikes out Jose Ramirez, strikes out Lane Thomas, and an interesting thing happens where Tim Meza, again, he was warming up in both games 4 and 5 and never came in. They did the right thing. And, for the fact that they could have had Meza face Josh Naylor, but then that sets you up with a tough spot against Noel. Cousins walks Naylor, And Stephen Vogt decides to stick with Noel and not go to the pinch hitter, which would have likely been Will Brennan. Sticks with Noel, and Cousins strikes him out. Again, I can't say enough how good Cousins was. And thank God he never got hurt to the point where he missed playoff action, because that was looking a little bit dicey at the end of the regular season. Emmanuel Clase comes on for his third straight night of work. And this was more of what you're used to with Emmanuel Clase. He gets judged to fly out, Stanton to strike out. Jazz Chisholm Jr. does single, and I hope somehow that gets him going, because, man, he's batting 147 with a 481 OPS. Jazz has looked really lost and pretty poor. He singles, and he was running on the first pitch, which he should as far as a steal. And Oswaldo needed to take that pitch. He needed to, and instead he grounds out, and they get the out at second. So that was not the best, but we go to the bottom of the ninth, and Luke Weaver comes on. And Weaver really, really was good. It's as if he totally just flushed away what had happened a couple of nights ago. Put it in the rear view. He goes 1-2-3 against the bottom of the Cleveland order, and then the top of the 10th we go. Hunter Gaddis on, who the night before struck out the side, looked amazing. Anthony Volpe line out, and then Austin Wells walk. Wells is the one that gets it going, the struggling Wells. And then it's another very lucky Alex Verdugo at bat. So if you remember the night before, it was the game-winning run, essentially, play, where Verdugo hits a little squib play to short, and Rocchio, they get no one out. He bobbles it. Here, not that dissimilar. Verdugo hits the ball towards second, and Jimenez gets it, makes a toss to Rocchio, and Rocchio drops the ball. Rocchio, I think he's going to be a really good player for Cleveland. He had some really tough moments defensively for someone that is shorthanded. And this was one of them. So everyone is safe. They get no outs. They could have gotten two, more likely one. They get none. And so then they have Dominguez a pinch run for Wells, which they didn't do it initially, but then they did it once Wells got to second base. Gleyber Torres strikes out versus Gaddis. And I was just thankful that he didn't hit a double play, because what it led to was Juan Soto up. First and second, 2 out. And this was an at-bat for the ages. It just was. You felt how big it was in the moment. And Soto just nodding his head like he knew. He's like, hey, throw me the fastball. Do it. And Soto kept on fouling off every other pitch that Gaddis threw. The slider, I think the changeup. And ultimately, which wasn't a bad pitch, Gaddis throws one that wasn't high enough. Soto, it was a high sky fly ball, and it just felt like it was in the air forever, and it goes out to center field, and Soto just goes nuts. And he pumps his chest, and he's looking at the dugout. And if you're a Yankee fan, you love Juan Soto. It's his third homer of the postseason, and it was his third homer of the series. Gives the Yankees a 5-2 lead. And then Gaddis strikes out Judge, which is kind of ironic because, look, like, that's what it should have been. And luckily, Soto was that's where you gotta pitch so carefully to Soto. You can't let him beat you. Going against Judge would have been the more advantageous matchup for Hunter Gaddis. It just would have been. But the Yankees take a 5-2 lead, and Luke Weaver's on for the 10th. He would allow a 1-out single to Kyle Manzardo, but fittingly, Juan Soto catches the final out of the series, and it's against Lane Thomas, and Weaver versus Lane Thomas was a Game 3 matchup that saw Lane Thomas get a double, but he flies out to Soto, and the New York Yankees have won the American League pennant, and they are headed to the World Series for the first time since 2009, and they will await the winner of the Mets-Dodgers series, where the Dodgers currently lead 3-2, and Game 6, and if necessary, Game 7 are in LA. So I will put out a preview episode as soon as we know who the Yankees' opponent will be, and that could be pretty shortly. We'll see. But yeah, I can't say enough. Like, this was just a memorable series, one that could have easily went longer. The 3 games in Cleveland at Progressive Field specifically, unfucking real. From Game 3, where Cleveland has this unbelievable win, Game 4, the ups and downs of that, and the Yankees pulling off the win against Clase in the 9th, and then this one, where it was just two big mistakes by Cleveland as far as pitching. I mean, I'm not including the Rocchio mishap, which was there, but Stanton homer in the 6th, the ALCS MVP, and then Juan Soto in the 10th inning. And just one of the classic moments of all time. So enjoy, if you're a Yankee fan, enjoy it. Definitely a little bit of a break until the World Series, a little bit like less than a week. The World Series starts on Friday. So, we'll see what happens, but it's very nice for the Yankees to be back in the Fall Classic. And again, the Yankees win the ALCS. They defeat the Cleveland Guardians in 5 games. And this last one, it was Juan Soto connecting on a 3-run homer in the 10th inning to give the Yankees a 5-2 lead to get them to the World Series.